Hi, everybody. Janine Spears, Senior Community Planner with Chester County Planning Commission and Chester County's representative on the Brandywine Battlefield Task Force. I'm really thrilled to be here today to talk about the Philadelphia campaign as a theme of the 250th. And we're going to do our presentation focusing on the 6 questions on slide 9 in your handout. Wade Katz, an archaeologist and military historian, has worked extensively on the Philadelphia campaign within and outside of Chester County. So just a quick overview of our talk. Wade is going to talk about the Philadelphia campaign for context and why it was selected as a theme. I'm going to then talk about the Brandywine Battlefield Task Force and now expanded to Philadelphia Campaign Partnership and the mission and tied to accomplishments as examples of what's been done to date. Wade's going to then talk about the importance of the Brandywine Battlefield and Philadelphia campaign and importance as a theme. And then I'll end with the expanded partnership to the Philadelphia campaign for the 250th, the Heritage Interpretive Network that you've heard about, a description of it, and then how that fits with the 250th, where the Brandywine Battlefield Task Force and the Philadelphia campaign partnership is now, and where we're headed. And thank you so much for inviting us to speak. We're very honored.
Thank you. So I want you to cast your minds back to 1777. Those of you who are around, I live on a cultural landscape, and when you travel through this landscape, you can see pieces of that earlier space and that earlier time if you know what you're looking for and you know how to pick that out. So the Philadelphia campaign is one of the major themes, and it's Chester County sits at the heart of that space of that campaign. From the late summer of 1777 to the winter of 1777-78, this area is the kind of major space that campaign takes over. It's an important military episode in the Revolutionary War, and it's a very complex campaign. It pits the British forces under Sir William Howe against the American forces under George Washington. And over that period of time, there are several major engagements that happen here in Chester County. Battles. You have the Battle of Brandywine, the most obvious, the largest, but also the Battle of the Clouds, the engagement at Paoli, and then the destruction of the French Creek Powder Works out in the extreme corner of the county, or almost corner of the county, and of course Valley Forge in the wintertime. And then that's just in Chester County. You want to think about the campaign, it goes much further than that. It actually reaches into 4 states, Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, and extends from the Head of Elk, what is today the Head of Elk or Elkton, Maryland, over into New Jersey, where I'm doing work at Red Bank Battlefield and other spaces that are part of that. All of that is part of the Philadelphia campaign. And it includes other places like Germantown, Couch's Battlefield at Couch's Bridge, Fort Mifflin, and White Marsh. So it's a much larger space, and as a theme, it could be looked at that way. The campaign, even though it's a disaster for the Americans or a defeat, the purpose behind it is for the British forces to seize Philadelphia, which they are able to do. But the outcome got more strategic value than that, and that Washington's army is able to survive. The U.S. Military and government survive. The British do not end the rebellion by seizing Philadelphia, which is the capital of the fledgling United States at that time. And the fact that Washington's army survives demonstrated the fortitude of that force, even under the worst conditions, where there were demands on the supply chains and the number of forces and soldiers coming together. It still is able to survive. And that survival helps to bring foreign allies into support the United States, including, and most specifically, France, but you have others, Holland, Spain, a number of others that come into support as well. So the Philadelphia campaign is an often overlooked but very key component of the American Revolution. And that resilience of Washington's army helps bring those forces into play. I think I'll go to the next slide and talk a little bit about that Brandywine battlefield and the importance of the battlefield as a defining part of the Philadelphia campaign. Just to give you a little background on the battlefield, It is a testament to the significance of that battlefield. It's probably the largest land engagement of the American Revolution. 35,000 acres, two counties, several municipalities. It's a massive battlefield space. It is a National Historic Landmark, the Brandywine Battlefield. And it has been one, and that's not an easy thing to become. So there's only a handful of National Historic Landmarks in the United States. It's the first Pennsylvania Commonwealth treasure, and it's listed as a priority space by the American Battlefield Protection Program. Over that 20-day period that they're in Chester County, what's the purpose of preserving a battlefield? Why do we want to do that? Battlefields, and we have several, and I'm just going to focus on those battlefields, but they're poignant places on the landscape where geography has been transformed into symbolic spaces of war. We infuse those spaces, we ourselves and generations that will come after us and those that came before us, we infuse those spaces with multiple meanings. And they can be political, they're places of pilgrimage, they're places of memorialization and memory, they're places of tourism, which this is an opportune time with the 250th coming up as a place of tourism, but they're also burial spaces, and we need to keep that in mind. These are places that American soldiers gave their lives. They're buried. You're on the battlefield right here where you are. There are soldiers buried on this battlefield. We have never been able to locate their remains yet, even today, 250 years later. The Brandywine Battlefield is a cultural landscape, and it possesses a special authenticity because this landscape is still largely intact. And I want to point out something that my colleague at the Museum of the American Revolution, Scott Stevenson, some of you may be familiar with, has made the comment, accurate history, which is what we want to try to do here, is inclusive history. And so if you have those two things going together on this space, you can have an amazing outcome on the population and the community that comes to visit this place. The battlefield and all these spaces of the 1777 campaign provide a uniqueness of place. This event happened here, in your backyards, in your county. You should be proud of that and embrace that as stewards and kind of help raise the awareness of the significance of the place. The battlefield itself promotes education, it promotes outreach, heritage tourism, and it's a challenging space, obviously. It's still a living landscape. It's still a place where people live and work every day. And so you have to balance those things between heritage tourism, preservation, but it can be done. And I just want to make one more comment on this before I turn this back over to Janine. I've worked for almost 2 decades as a consultant on battlefield projects from Vermont to Virginia, Delaware, New York, New Jersey. There is nothing like what you have here in Chester County with the Brandywine Battlefield Task Force, which is one of the major components of how this organization functions. That task force has been around since 1993. You have an amazing basis here for really developing this space into a remarkable heritage tourism space. It already is that now, but with the 250th coming on, you're going to see that. The level of interest and support that comes from your county governments, your municipalities, your townships, federal government, all of your planning organizations is unmatched any place else in the U.S. I haven't seen that on any other battlefields that I've worked on, so you should be really proud of that. And with that, I think I'll turn this over to, I'll end with one more comment, sorry. As I mentioned, the battlefield is identified by the American Battlefield Protection Program as a Priority 1 space. You have a couple others that are listed in there. Paoli, the Battle of the Clouds, and Valley Forge are highly significant spaces. That means, the Priority 1 means you still are under major development threats here and suburban threats and changes to this landscape. And so it's really important to be stewards of this space. And I'll leave you with the statement that the American Battlefield Protection Program wrote in their 2007 report to Congress. The more a historic site, and in this case, the battlefield and the Philadelphia campaign, is recognized, documented, and interpreted and made accessible, the more likely it is to be protected in the long term. Thank you.
So you can see, so Wade talked about how Brandywine Battlefield is a large and significant historic landscape. So how do we understand such a large landscape that's mostly private property and how do we work to protect and provide outreach about its existence and importance. And also visitation to heritage sites that are open to the public through a regional partnership called the Brandywine Battlefield Task Force. As Wade said, it was founded 30 years ago, 1993. We had our 30th year anniversary last October. It's a volunteer, basically ad hoc, collaborative body of municipal, county, nonprofit, heritage sites, and community members working together in a regional community planning, multifaceted way. We embrace differing skill sets, roles, and expertise on facilitation, planning, historic preservation, landscape preservation, including agricultural and open space, raising awareness, outreach, and most recently, heritage interpretation. So the Brandywine Battlefield Task Force is a long-standing partnership and has been expanded for the 250th for coordination with other Philadelphia campaign partners, Clouds, Paoli, related sites, and working in collaboration with Valley Forge. The slide here shows how many groups are working together collaboratively, and it's actually meant to not be readable because I wanted to show how many people are working together to the point where you can't read the slide and we couldn't make the font any bigger. The Battlefield Task Force's enduring and evolving partnership, it strives to keep planning efforts and the battlefield alive, as Wade said, as a living cultural landscape for now and the future. And it will be an important guide as we prepare for the 250th. So this is the accomplishments slide, and it's also meant to not be readable, and it doesn't even list all the accomplishments, it's a sampling, which I'm going to touch upon briefly. The task force, as well as Philadelphia campaign partners, some efforts are shown on the slide, has shown cooperative battlefield planning in action. Like a fog of war, Brandywine Battlefield and the Philadelphia campaign is large, complex, and with many parties involved. We didn't know what we didn't know until we did through planning studies. Efforts haven't always been linear, I will say. It has not been planning to implementation. Sometimes it's been implementation to planning and then reset and start over. And as you can see from the slide, there's a lot of accomplishments through Brandywine Battlefield Task Force partners, and Paoli and Cloud's accomplishments are also listed on the slide. So very briefly, under the mission for the Brandywine Battlefield Task Force of providing technical assistance, some of the accomplishments have been a 2010 study, which was the first time the extent of the Brandywine Battlefield had been mapped. We learned that it was 35,000 acres, and there was also an animated battle action map that I'm sure you've all seen. Paoli and Clouds also have had technical reports, and they have animated battle action maps. There was a 2013 battlefield preservation plan for the Brandywine Battlefield, the first time a preservation plan had been done for Brandywine. And it took a broad look at the 35,000 acres from various planning perspectives, including heritage interpretation. It called for connectivity between still visible, open to the public heritage sites and landscapes as the focus for Brandywine Battlefield public interpretation. And there have been specific studies done with focused information and recommendations. And why we need those specific studies is we really need to know what happened and where for local planning, preservation, and educational interpretive purposes, because we can't preserve the entire 35,000 acres. We're well aware of that, as well as all of Paoli and Clouds. So we need targeted recommendations on what to look at. A couple more accomplishments under preservation, and this is under the mission of preserving battlefield resources. We have the preservation of Birmingham Hill, Osborne Hill, the rear guard area, Dilworth Farm, and Paoli Battlefield. Under heritage interpretation, with the mission of pursuing projects to interpret significance for battlefield education and visitorship, we have heritage interpretation planning. Marshallton and Kennett Heritage Centers are open. Thornbury has a soft opening. Strode's Mill Heritage Center is working to open. We have the Brandywine Battlefield Heritage Interpretation Sign Marker Project. There's one sign in each of the 15 municipalities, and that was funded by Sons of the Revolution and their color guard. We have the Brandywine Battlefield Signage Design Manual, which is actually used in the Chester Valley Trail, so it is expanded to being used in the Clouds area. And we have draft driving tours. A lot has been done, as I said, in the accomplishments, but there's a lot more to do. So where are we now and where are we headed? So large scales ideas for the Brandywine Battlefield Task Force. The idea is a fortified partnership of public and private stakeholders embracing agricultural, historic resources, and natural resource value and protection, continuing forward. For the Philadelphia campaign, a cohesive, fully implementable heritage interpretive network connected to the 250 to launch. that is an educational, local heritage economic, and heritage tourism driver, creating a permanent legacy for generations to come. So what is this planned heritage interpretive network that you've been hearing about? I will keep this brief because some of you know I can talk about this for a long time. It was a concept that originated in Brandywine Battlefield Planning, specifically the 2013 Preservation Plan. And it's been further refined in specific Brandywine Battlefield Planning that I touched on before. It's now being expanded countywide to other themes through the Chester County 250th and also through the Chester County Heritage Tourism Plan. The Heritage Interpretive Network links identified heritage sites into tiers, and you're seeing an image of what the Heritage Interpretive Network looks like for Brandywine Battlefield. And by the way, the white area there, that huge area, 35,000 acres, that's the area Wade was talking about. It links identified heritage sites into tiers, gateways, heritage centers, and interpretive sites by theme, place, and visitor and site capacity for right-sized expectations for the visitor experience. Very briefly, gateways introduce the visitor to a theme, orienting and overviewing one overarching theme. Heritage centers break history, interpretation, and themes into manageable, digestible sections, and interpretive sites focus on a particular element of the overall theme. Together, the heritage sites in the Heritage Interpretive Network will provide a coordinated approach to public interpretation and visitation. So for example, for Brandywine Battlefield, what this means. There's 2 gateways, and also for the Philadelphia campaign, what this means. There's 2 gateways, Brandywine Battlefield Park in Chadds Ford and Valley Forge Park. For Brandywine Battlefield, heritage centers have already been identified in planning efforts. Kennett, Marshallton, Strodes Mill, Thornberry, Chadds Ford, and Dilworthtown. Interpretive sites are identified, and they have a satellite interrelationship with heritage centers, think hub and spoke, and then pedestrian links. The Heritage Interpretive Network gives an interactive, linked heritage experience to bring history alive. So we had a meeting last week of the Philadelphia Campaign Partnership, and working in coordination with both Chester County 250th and Delaware County 250th, because remember, Brandywine Battlefield does cross over into Delaware County. It was a working meeting, and it was done in coordination with this summit. The gateways presented, Valley Forge presented, and Brandywine Battlefield Park presented about their plans. And then we had breakouts into what we called mini Heritage Interpretive Network clusters by Heritage Center. The 6 heritage centers we talked about, there was also a breakout for Paoli and Clouds to speak. We focused on 3 buckets in breakouts, so the mini network could start working together going forward long-term, not just for the one meeting. Bucket 1 was near-term projects, 250-oriented projects, programs, and events. Bucket 2 was legacy, Heritage Interpretive Network-focused projects, infrastructure and interpretation, with the launch being the 250th. And Bucket 3 was taking 250th projects, programs, and events to become legacy long-term projects as an element of the Heritage Interpretive Network. We're asking those breakout groups to continue working together, and we're planning another working meeting this fall to cement in 250 ideas for the implementation and cement in Heritage Interpretive Network for the implementation in 2025. So last but not least, I wanted to end with some specific project ideas that may stimulate conversation later in the breakouts that we have come up with through the Philadelphia Campaign Partnership. One of them is the signage design guide system, and really using that signage design guide system to unify the Philadelphia campaign. A website and marketing for the Philadelphia campaign. Rack cards, digital and paper, for each Heritage Center cluster to start grouping them together as a mini network. Interpretive signage for self-guided experiences. A year-long Philadelphia campaign town tour in 2027. A kids scavenger hunt connecting the Philadelphia campaign markers. And last but not least, a Philadelphia campaign driving tour visitor experience app. A grant application is being completed now, and please wish us luck. Last but not least, I want to end with, like the fog of war, the Philadelphia campaign is large and complex with many parties involved. We are here to work together as a coordinated region today and going forward. And let's give a huzzah! Huzzah! Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wade and Janine. There will